Hi everyone, welcome to all. This is Vidyam Academy's NEET Initiative Most Expected Question Series. This is Rajiv Patel. Today's topic is 12th Biology, second chapter, Human Reproduction. Into this subtopic is the female reproductive system. Let's welcome to all. Let's get started. Which of the following correctly lists the primary organs of the female reproductive system in humans? Option A, ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, vagina, and external genitalia. Option B, a pair of ovaries, a pair of oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, and external genitalia. Option C, ovaries, uterus, cervix, and placenta. Option D, ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, and corpus luteum. What is the answer? Would you guess the right answer for this question? Yes, the answer is option B. A pair of ovaries, a pair of oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, and external genitalia. Why and how? Let's see the explanation. The female reproductive system consists of 6 permanent components. A pair of ovaries, which produces eggs and hormones. A pair of oviducts are fallopian tubes, which carries the egg to the uterus. The uterus, where the baby develops. The cervix, the narrow lower opening of the uterus. The vagina, so birth canal and the copulatory organ. And the external genitalia. Option B is the only choice that includes all 6 correctly. So the cervix is a separate named structure. Option B is exactly right answer for the question. And next move to question number 2. Which structure is found immediately surrounding the secondary oocyte inside the Graafian follicle? Option A, corona radiata granulosa cells directly around the oocyte. Option B, antral fluid liquor follicle directly bathing the oocyte. Option C, zona flaccida, a glycoprotein layer directly on the oocyte with the corona radiata outside it. Option D, Deca interna cells immediately around the oocyte. What is the right answer for this question? Your time starts now. Could you guess? Yes, C is right answer for this question. Why and how? Let's see the explanation. Zona flaccida, a glycoprotein layer directly on the oocyte with corona radiata outside it. The zona flaccida is a thick non-cellular glycoprotein core that sits directly on the surface of the secondary oocyte. It is the very first layer touching the egg. Just outside the zona flaccida comes the corona radiata, which is a single ring of the granulosa cells that clings to the zona flaccida surface and accompanies the ovum even after it's released from the follicle. The antral fluid fills the large fluid, a filled cavity of the Graafian follicle, but doesn't touch the oocyte directly. Because the oocyte is always shielded by the zona flaccida from within. The theca interna cells form a part of the outer follicle wall far from the oocyte and are responsible for estrogen production. So the correct layer order starting from the oocyte outward is oocyte, zona flaccida, corona radiata, antrum, granulosa cells, are finally Deca layers. That's what option C is right answer. Exactly the question which demands for. Next move to question number 3. So here we have assertion. Option A, reason R. Assertion A, the Graafian follicle ruptures during ovulation and releases the secondary oocyte into the fallopian tube. Or A sharp LH surge on approximately day 14 of the menstrual cycle triggers ovulation from the Graafian follicle. Option A. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Option B. Both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation of A. Option C. A is true but R is false. Option D, A is false, but R is true. What is the answer for this question? Your time starts now. Yes, the answer is option A. Both A and R are true, but R is the correct explanation of A. Why and how? Let's see the explanation. The graphene follicle does rupture at ovulation, releases the secondary oocyte, which at this stage is arrested midway through its second meiotic division. Reason R is also true because the LH, a luteinizing hormone surge that peaks around day 14, is the direct hormonal trigger that causes the follicle wall to break down, resulting in secondary oocyte, not a primary oocyte and not a mature ovum. Because meiosis 2 only completes if and when a sperm fertilizes it. If both A and R are true but are unrelated. But option B would apply, but here the connection is direct and casual, confirming option A. So here assertion A correctly reasoned by R. And next move to question number 4. Here we have matched column. The first one, perimetrium. Option, a thick muscular wall, contraction during labor. Option 2, myometrium, outermost thin membranous protective layer. Option 3, endometrium, innermost glandular layer, implantation cyclic changes. So here the options are option A, 1A, 2B, 3C. Option B, 1C, 2A, 3B. Option C, 1B, 2A, 3C. Option D, 1B, 2C, 3A. What is the correct answer? Your time starts now. Could you guess the right answer? Yes, option C. Yeah. Why and how? Let's see the explanation. C option, which matched here, the first one, perimetrium, is connected to B. So outermost thin membranes protective layer. Option 2, A, it's a myometrium, is a thick muscular wall, contraction during labor. Option 3, C, endometrium, innermost glandular layer, implantation cyclic changes. The uterus is made up of 3 concentric layers arranged from outside to inside. Perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium. The perimetrium is the outermost thin serous membrane. It's simply a protective covering with a no muscular secretory role. The myometrium is the thick middle layer composed entirely of smooth muscle fibers. And it is the layer that produces the powerful contraction during labor under the influence of oxytocin. The endometrium is the innermost glandular lining. It is rich in blood vessels and uterine glands, undergoes cyclic thickening and shedding during the menstrual cycle. And it's a layer where the blastocyte implants during pregnancy. Option C correctly pairs each layer with its function, making it the only accurate match. That's what option C is exactly matched here. And let's move to question number 5. Which correctly represents the ploidy sequence in oocynosis? Option A. So ogonium 2N, primary oocyte 2N, and secondary oocyte N, and mature ovum 2N. Option B, ogonium 2N, primary oocyte 2N, secondary oocyte N, and mature ovum N. Option C, ogonium N, primary oocyte 2N, secondary oocyte 2N, and mature ovum N. Finally, option D, ogonium 2N, primary oocyte N, secondary oocyte N, and mature ovum N. What is the correct answer for this question? A ploidy sequence in oocynosis. Yes, option B. 2N, 2N, NN. Why and how? Let's see. The ogonium is a normal diploid. 2N body cells is the ovary that divides by mitosis. It differentiates into the primary oocyte, which is also diploid 2N, and enters meiosis 1, but gets arrested at prophase 1. It stays frozen in the state for years without completing the division. When the LH surge triggers meiosis 1 to finally complete just before ovulation, the primary oocyte splits into the secondary oocyte and the first polar body, both haploid N. This is the one and only point where ploidy drops in oocynosis. The secondary oocyte then arrests again at metaphase 2 and it released at ovulation. After fertilization completes meiosis 2, the mature ovum is formed. Still haploid N, it only becomes part of a diploid cell when the sperm nucleus fuses with it to form a 2N zygote. Option B is the only sequence that correctly shows ploidy dropping once at the primary to secondary oocyte step. Answer B is exactly right here. Next, question number 6. Which correctly matches the phase name, day range and dominant hormone in a 28-day menstrual cycle? Option A. Menstrual phase days 1 to 5, dominant hormone progesterone. Option B. Proliferative follicular phase day 6 to 13, dominant hormone progesterone. Option C. Proliferative follicular phase days 6 to 13, dominant hormone estrogen. Option D. Secondary luteal phase day 1 to 5, dominant hormone estrogen. What is the answer? Your time starts now. Yes. Answer option C. Why? Let's see the explanation. During day 6 to 13 of the menstrual cycle is a follicle inside the ovary grows, matures under the influence of FSH. As it grows, the follicle secretes increasing amounts of estrogen. This is why the phase is also called the follicular phase. Estrogen acts on the endometrium to make it proliferate and thicken, which is why the phase is called proliferative phase. By day 13, estrogen peaks and triggers the LHs that will cause ovulation on day 14. After ovulation, the ruptured follicle becomes the corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone, making a progesterone the dominant hormone of the luteal phase. It's a day 15 to 28 and not the follicular phase. During the menstrual phase, day 1 to 5, so both hormones are their lowest, which triggers menstruations to begin. So option A, which assigns progesterone to the menstrual phase, is wrong. That's what option C, exactly right answer. Proliferative follicular phase day 16 to 13, dominant hormone estrogen is the exact answer, option C. Next, question number 7. So here also we have assertion A. If fertilization occurs, the corpus luteum is maintained and does not degenerate as it would without pregnancy. Reason or HCG secreted by the trophoblast acts like LH and keeps the corpus luteum alive, which continues segregating progesterone to sustain the endometrium and prevent menstruation. Option A, both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Option B, both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation of A. Option C, A is true but R is false. And option D, A is false but R is true. What is the right answer? Right answer is option A. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. How and why? Let's see. After ovulation, the corpus luteum normally lasts only about 10 to 12 days before it degenerating, causing progesterone fall and menstruation to follow. But only when there is no pregnancy, when a fertilized embryo implants, the trophoblast cells, the embryo immediately begin segregating HCG, human chronic gonadotropin. HCG binds the same receptors as a LH on the corpus luteum, essentially sending it the same signal as LH. It would. And this prevents the corpus luteum from degenerating. The risked corpus luteum continues producing progesterone, which keeps the endometrium thick and secretory, creating the environment which the embryo needs to survive. This is why R directly and completely explain A. Without HCG risking the corpus luteum, the progesterone would drop, the endometrium would shed, and the pregnancy would end. That's what the fact that HCG is detectable in urine from about 8 to 10 days post fertilization is what pregnancy test kits exploit. So next move to question number 8. Which option correctly gives the ploidy of all four structures? P. primary oocyte nucleus, Q secondary oocyte nucleus, R first polar body nucleus, and second polar body nucleus. Option A. P is equal to 2n, Q is equal to 2n, R is equal to n, S is equal to n. B is equal to 2n, Q is equal to n, R is equal to n, S is equal to n. Option C, P is equal to n, Q is equal to n, R is equal to n, S is equal to 2n. Option D, P is equal to 2n, Q is equal to n, R is equal to 2n, S is equal to n. So all four structures given the ploidy related. What is the correct answer? The answer is option B. P is equal to 2n, Q is equal to n, R is equal to n, S is equal to n. Why and how? Let's see. The primary oocyte P is diploid 2n because it's arrested at prophase 1 of meiosis 1. No meiotic division as yet completed. So the chromosome number is still full. When meiosis 1 finally completes just before ovulation, the primary oocyte splits into two cells. The secondary oocyte Q and the first polar body are both of which receive haploid, a set of chromosomes, because meiosis 1 is the reductional division that helps the ploidy. The secondary oocyte then gets arrested again the metaphase 2 and waits for fertilization. Secondary oocyte produces the mature ovum and the second polar body. It's called S. Both haploid N because meiosis 2 is an rotational division that doesn't change the ploidy. So the only diploid structure in the question is the primary oocyte P, and the every other structure QRS is haploid, making option B is exactly right answer. Next, question number 9. Consider the following statements about the fallopian tube. Statement 1. The infundibulum is the funnel-shaped end closest to the ovary. Its fimbriae collect the oocyte at ovulation. It is a statement 1. Statement 2. Fertilization normally occurs in the ampulla, the widest region of the tube adjacent to the infundibulum. Option A, all three statements are correct. Option B, only statements 1 and 2 are correct. Option C, only statements 1 and 3 are correct. Option D, only statement 2 are correct. What is the right answer? Yes, option B, only statements 1 and 2 correct, but the statements 3 is false. Let's see why 3 is wrong and why 1 and 2 are right. Statement 1 is right because infundibulum is a funnel-shaped open end of the fallopian tube that sits the closest to the ovary, and its fimbriae at the sweep that released oocyte from the ovarian surface into the tube at ovulation. That's what statement 1 is absolutely correct. Statement 2 is also correct because fertilization takes just beyond the infundibulum, so where the oocyte and sperm meet. Statement 3 is false for two reasons. First, the isthmus is the narrow, short section of the tube that connects the ampulla to the uterus. It is not wide or dilated. Second, fertilization happens in the ampulla, so not in the isthmus. So since only statement 1 and 2 are accurately correct and statement 3 contains a clear factual error, option B is the correct answer. The regional order of the fallopian tube from ovary to uterus is infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus and uterus. The next move to question number 10. So here the assertion A, at ovulation the structure released is arrested at metaphase of meiosis 2. It is a secondary oocyte, not at a mature ovum. Reason R. Meiosis 2 completes only when a sperm fertilizes the secondary oocyte. Without fertilization, it degenerates and no mature ovum is ever formed. So here the options are. Option A, both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Option B, both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation of A. And C, A is true but R is false. And D, A is false. What is the right answer for this question? Yes. Option, both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Yes. Why and how? Let's see. Assertion A is true. The structure released from the ovary at ovulation is a secondary oocyte, not mature ovum. The secondary oocyte has completed meiosis 1, producing itself and the first polar body, but it then arrested midway through meiosis 2 at the metaphase stage, and it travels down the fallopian tube in this arrested state. Reason R is also true. The only biological signal that triggers the secondary oocyte to resume and complete meiosis 2 is sperm entry, which causes a calcium wave inside the oocyte that unlocks the arrested division. If no sperm arrives within about 12 to 24 hours, the secondary oocyte simply degenerates without completing meiosis 2. Meaning a mature ovum is never formed at all. R directly explains A, because the reason a secondary oocyte, what it gets released precisely the meiosis 2 requires is the fertilization trigger to finish. Making option A is a correct choice because the reason, assertion, so both are rightly matched here. So here we explained 10 most important and expected questions for your upcoming NEET examinations. And next, I will come up with another topic which are very important for your NEET examination. Till so far, I would like to conclude this session with very well goodness. Thank you, and thank you so much to all.